Oh, yes, this is such a wonderful discovery and shows that Mars, our nearest neighbor planet, still has so many surprises in store for us.
Well, cast your mind back to February last year, and you may remember the excitement when NASA successfully landed its Perseverance rover on Mars.
NASA's Mars rover has just made a shocking discovery after 12 years on the red planet. It has found sulfur crystals. This is big news because these crystals could finally prove that water once existed on Mars. If this is true, it changes everything we know about Mars's past. Scientists are now asking, could Mars have supported life long ago? And if water did exist, what does that mean for future exploration? Let's answer these questions. A journey through Mars. Mars is our neighbor planet that has fascinated humanity for centuries. It is that bright red dot in the sky, always sparking curiosity and wonder. Mars is often called the red planet because of its rusty appearance, but there is so much more to this mysterious world than just its color. Scientists have spent decades trying to unlock its secrets, and the more we learn, the more questions we seem to have. Mars is the fourth planet from the Sun, and in some ways, it is strangely similar to Earth. It has polar ice caps. Its days are only slightly longer than ours, around 24.6 hours, and it has seasons like Earth does. But then, things get different, and not in a good way. The temperature on Mars averages around minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Imagine that. It is a freezing desert with an atmosphere that's mostly made up of carbon dioxide. You can forget about breathing and living there. Well, not unless you are a fan of extremely thin air and lots of dust. So why do we even care about Mars? Why are we so obsessed with this cold, barren planet? Simple. It might hold clues to life beyond Earth. Scientists believe that billions of years ago, Mars was a lot warmer and wetter. It might have even had water flowing across its surface, which makes it a prime candidate for once supporting life. And that, my friend, is why we keep going back. There could be answers to one of humanity's biggest questions. Are we alone in the universe? NASA has been at the forefront of exploring Mars, starting way back in the 1960s. That's when the Mariner missions started. The goal was to get a closer look at the red planet, and in 1964, Mariner 4 became the first spacecraft to fly by Mars and send back photos. And what did it show? A surface full of craters, much like our moon. While it was not the most exciting discovery, it was a big first step in understanding Mars. Then, in the 1970s, NASA was ready to do something else, to expand its operation, so they came up with the Viking program. In 1975, Viking 1 and Viking 2 were launched with a mission to not just fly by Mars, but actually land on it. This was huge. Viking 1 touched down on July 20th, 1976, followed by Viking 2 in September. These landers were equipped with instruments designed to search for life, and while they didn't find any Martians, they did send back some incredible data. We learned a lot about the planet's atmosphere, surface, and even its weather patterns. Plus, the images they sent back were groundbreaking at the time. Jumping ahead to the 1990s, NASA was not done with Mars. In fact, they were getting more ambitious. The Mars Pathfinder mission launched in 1996, and it came with a little extra, a rover. This was a big deal because it was not going to be just a static lander. It was a mobile machine called Sojourner that could move around and explore the surface. Sojourner landed in an area called Ares Vallis in 1997 and started roaming around, snapping pictures, and analyzing rocks and soil. For the first time, we had a machine that was actively exploring the red planet. Sojourner was the first rover on Mars, and while it was small, just about the size of a microwave, it was mighty. It proved that rovers could be a game changer in planetary exploration, and NASA was just getting started. After Pathfinder, NASA moved on to more advanced missions with rovers like Spirit, Opportunity, and most notably, Curiosity. Curiosity was designed with one question in mind. Did Mars ever have the right conditions to support life, curiosity, and perseverance? Curiosity was designed to be the ultimate machine for understanding Mars' ability to support life. NASA launched Curiosity as part of the Mars Science Laboratory mission, and its goal was to figure out if Mars ever had the conditions to support microbial life. This was huge, because while we had explored Mars before, we had not yet had the technology to dig deep into its past in this way. Curiosity launched on November 26, 2011, from Cape Canaveral, Florida, aboard an Atlas V rocket. The journey to Mars took about 8 months, and it finally touched down on August 6, 2012, in Gale Crater. This landing site was chosen because scientists believed it could hold evidence of water, and its layered mountain, Mount Sharp, might have clues to Mars's ancient environments. But why was there a need to send Curiosity to Mars when Sojourner was already there? You see, this rover is massive compared to its predecessors. It is about the size of a small SUV, 7 feet tall, 9 feet wide, and 10 feet long. This makes it one of the biggest rovers ever sent to another planet. It weighs around 2,000 pounds, which is pretty heavy for a robot roaming around a distant world. But Curiosity is not just big for no reason. It is packed with advanced scientific instruments that make it a real workhorse for exploring Mars. Curiosity is equipped with a suite of cameras, sensors, and tools. It has 17 cameras in total, which allow it to capture high-resolution images of the Martian surface from every angle. Not just that, Curiosity can also drill into rocks, scoop up soil, and analyze samples with its onboard laboratory. The rover has a robotic arm that's about 7 feet long and can move with precision, making it capable of drilling into rock formations and collecting samples for analysis. One of Curiosity's coolest features is its power system. Unlike other rovers that rely on solar energy, Curiosity uses a nuclear power source called a multi-mission radioisotope thermoelectric generator. This means it can keep working day and night, regardless of whether there is sunlight or dust storms, which is super important for a mission where you don't want to be limited by Mars' unpredictable weather. While Curiosity was busy uncovering some of Mars's most fascinating mysteries, NASA was already planning its next big step: Perseverance. This rover was designed to build on Curiosity's success and take Mars exploration to the next level. But why did we need another rover? Well, even though Curiosity did a fantastic job, scientists wanted to go even further, literally and figuratively. The main goal of Perseverance is to search for signs of ancient life on Mars, but it also has another mission: to collect samples of Martian rock and soil that can eventually be brought back to Earth. This is a major first in space exploration. While Curiosity analyzed samples on Mars, Perseverance is taking it a step further by storing them for future retrieval. NASA is already working on a plan to bring those samples back to Earth in the 2030s, which could give us the most detailed look at Martian soil we have ever had. Perseverance launched on July 30th, 2020, aboard an Atlas V rocket, the same type that carried Curiosity. After a journey of almost 7 months, it landed on February 18th, 2021, in Jezero Crater. This location was carefully chosen because scientists believe it once held a lake, making it a prime spot to look for signs of ancient life. While Perseverance looks a lot like Curiosity, it is actually a bit more advanced. It's slightly heavier, weighing in at around 2,260 pounds, and it is packed with upgraded technology. For example, it has more advanced cameras, 23 in total, that can capture even sharper images and videos. Perseverance also has a laser tool called SuperCam that can analyze the chemical makeup of rocks from a distance, which is super helpful for identifying interesting samples without having to move right up to them. Another new feature is Perseverance's sample caching system. This is what allows the rover to collect and store rock samples in sealed metal tubes. These samples will eventually be picked up by another mission and returned to Earth for further study. And let's not forget about Ingenuity, the small helicopter tucked underneath Perseverance. This little chopper made history as the first aircraft to fly on another planet, proving that powered flight is possible in Mars's thin atmosphere. Ingenuity was initially just a technology demonstration, but it has now flown dozens of times, providing aerial views of the Martian landscape that no rover could achieve on its own. So with these incredible rovers walking and flying on Mars, what new discoveries have we made about the red planet? The incredible findings. Let's start with Curiosity. This rover has been constantly revealing new things about our mysterious red neighbor. One of its major breakthroughs was finding organic compounds. Now, before you get too excited, no, Curiosity didn't find little Martians running around, but what it did find is still pretty amazing. It detected organic molecules in rock samples from Gale Crater. Organic compounds, which are made of carbon, are key ingredients for life. They don't necessarily mean life existed, but they do suggest Mars could have once supported it. These compounds were found in rocks that date back about 4 billion years. That's a long time, and scientists believe these molecules may have formed through both biological and non-biological processes. The shocking part here is that the carbon isotopes Curiosity detected could potentially point to ancient biological activity, but just to keep things real, they could also be the result of non-life processes, like chemical reactions between sunlight and carbon dioxide in Mars's atmosphere. So, while it is not a smoking gun for life, it is definitely enough to keep scientists digging. Curiosity also made headlines when it detected methane spikes in Mars's atmosphere. Methane on Earth mostly comes from biological processes, which, of course, got everyone excited. But again, we don't know for sure if the methane on Mars is coming from biological activity or something else. Either way, it adds more intrigue to Mars's story. Now let's move on to something equally fascinating. Curiosity's work on understanding the age of rocks. The rover found that the rocks around Gale Crater formed around 4 billion years ago and later became sedimentary rocks. This means around 70 million years ago, these rocks were exposed to the surface due to erosion. This exposure helped scientists get a clearer picture of how radiation on the surface might affect organic compounds. If Curiosity has made these marvelous discoveries, what has Perseverance found on Mars? Moving on to Perseverance, this next-gen rover was built to pick up where Curiosity left off. Launched in 2020, Perseverance had a slightly different mission. It was given the task to search for signs of ancient life and collect rock samples that could one day be returned to Earth. When Perseverance landed in Jezero Crater, scientists were not sure what kind of rocks they would find. Some thought the crater floor was made up of ancient lava flows, while others believed it was full of sedimentary rocks brought in by water or wind. What did Perseverance find? Igneous rocks, including lava flows and slowly cooled magma. These rocks revealed evidence of water interactions, hinting at environments that might have supported life billions of years ago. Perseverance's sample collection system is incredible. It can store rock samples in metal tubes, and these could eventually be brought back to Earth in future missions. This is the first time we are collecting Martian samples with the plan of actually returning them home. Perseverance has also been a master at capturing stunning visuals. One of its most famous shots is a panoramic view of an area called Santa Cruz, made from 24 images. This gave scientists a closer look at the landscape. Now, let's talk about Wildcat Ridge, where Perseverance found some of its most exciting clues yet. In this area, it discovered evidence of an ancient lake environment. The rocks there were likely deposited in water and continued to interact with it long after they formed. This makes the location perfect for preserving signs of ancient microbial life, and the sediments there provide a window into Mars' past. But there is more. Perseverance has shown that Mars's water history is way more complex than we first thought. Sure, we knew a lake once filled Jezero Crater, but new images suggest the story does not stop there. The rover found signs of high-energy flooding, powerful enough to carry massive boulders into the crater. Where did these floods come from? We don't know yet, but this is exactly why exploration is so important. Each discovery leads to more questions. On the technology side, Perseverance also made history with the MOXIE experiment. MOXIE stands for Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment, and its job was to produce oxygen from the carbon dioxide in Mars's atmosphere. And guess what? It worked. Moxie produced enough oxygen to support an astronaut for about 4 hours, showing that we might be able to generate life-sustaining oxygen on Mars one day. Speaking of firsts, Perseverance also gave us the first-ever sounds from Mars. Using microphones, it recorded the Martian wind and the sounds of its own tools operating. What's really cool is that scientists learned the speed of sound on Mars is slower than on Earth, and sounds are quieter because of the thin atmosphere. So if you were on Mars, even everyday sounds would be muffled and eerie. Let's not forget about Ingenuity, the small helicopter that's been flying alongside Perseverance. This little chopper made history with the first powered flight on another planet and has continued to support Perseverance by providing aerial views and scouting ahead. While we kept getting hints about the presence of water, we have recently received some proof. So what proof do we have now that water was once present on the surface of Mars? Following the water. On May 30th, Curiosity found something unexpected: bright yellow sulfur crystals. And no, this was not part of the original plan. The rover accidentally cracked open a rock while exploring, and there it was, a field of sulfur crystals. This find had scientists scratching their heads because it was not just regular old sulfur mixed with other materials, it was pure sulfur. That's not something they were expecting in this part of Mars. Now, if you are thinking of sulfur and picturing that rotten egg smell, don't worry. Pure sulfur is completely odorless. It only stinks when it is combined with other elements. These crystals form under very specific conditions, and none of those conditions were thought to exist in this area. That's why this discovery was such a big deal. Finding sulfur like this is like stumbling upon treasure where you least expect it. Curiosity had been exploring the Geddes Vallis channel, a groove winding down Mount Sharp, for a while now. This channel is thought to have been carved by liquid water and debris flows long ago. The rover's mission in this area has been to study the layers of the surface to figure out when and where Mars might have had the right conditions for life, because where there is water, there could have been life. Scientists had spotted Geddes Vallis from space before Curiosity ever got there. They suspected the channel was shaped by ancient water, but until Curiosity started poking around, they didn't have the up-close evidence. Now, Curiosity is trying to answer the question, were these large mounds of debris in the channel formed by floods or landslides? So far, it looks like the answer might be a mix of both. By examining the rocks in the debris mounds, scientists can tell a lot. For example, water-carried rocks tend to be rounded, like river rocks. But Curiosity has also found more angular rocks, which suggests they were deposited by avalanches, not water. And then, there are the white halo shapes on some rocks, which means this is a clear sign that water once caused chemical reactions here. Now, this is not the only strange discovery we have made on Mars. The strangest thing would be to find life on Mars, or maybe some sign that life existed here once. Martian legends? Some UFO conspiracy theorists believe they have found an arrangement of stones in a circle on Mars, which they have dramatically named Mars-Henge. This discovery has started a lot of excitement and theories. Some people think these stones might be the remains of an ancient Martian civilization, maybe even connected to Earth's early cultures. Could Mars have its own version of Stonehenge? It is a fun idea to imagine, but not everyone is convinced. Scientists who spend their lives studying space are much more skeptical. They think people might be reading too much into this. While the rock formations are interesting, the scientific community does not see this as evidence of an ancient Martian society. In fact, this is not the first time space fans have seen strange shapes on Mars's rocky surface. There have been claims of pyramids, faces, and statues in NASA's photos. However, scientists explain that these shapes are likely formed by natural processes like wind and erosion. Mars has been shaped by harsh conditions for millions of years, creating formations that can look familiar to us, but are simply rocks. There is even a term for this phenomenon, pareidolia. It is when our brains trick us into seeing familiar patterns, like faces or objects, in random things. Just like seeing animals in clouds, people are seeing shapes on Mars that are not really there. So while the idea of a Mars henge is fun to think about, scientists believe it is just another natural formation on the red planet, shaped by its harsh environment. What do you think? Is there really life on Mars, or is this just a fascinating theory? Tell us your opinion in the comments below. If you want to hear more shocking stories, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because we have got a lot more of this. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.